What is going on, guys, and welcome to For The Fans. And in a tale of two goalkeepers yesterday, as Enquiries threw the ball into his own net and Achal stemmed any chance of a Brazilian victory, me and Ben are going to be looking through all the action, joined by our special guest for today's Shifty. We'll also be taking a look forward to today's football in action, and after all of that, we have the quiz. Let's get straight into this.
We are a week into the World Cup. It's me, Ben. Jack's here.
You're right, Ben. How are you doing?
And today, I'm good, thank you. But today, Jack, we have a guest. We have FIFA expert, betting expert, all-round good guy, Andrew Matthews, better known as Shifty. How you doing, Shifty?
Hi, guys. I'm all right. You?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. We'll crack straight into it. As I say, week in, and we'll start with the team they're playing twice. We'll come to Group G or H. We'll come to Group H later. But we'll kick it off with Mexico-Brazil. It was a thriller. A 0-0 thriller. Shifty, we've obviously seen Brazil play once in this World Cup and to kind of scrape through against Croatia. How did you think they got on against a resilient Mexico?
Personally, I thought Mexico were going to win before the game. Anyway, looking at the stats, just because the main statistic they stated before the game was that Mexico were the team to beat Brazil more times than any other in competitive fixtures.
Yeah. Which
obviously led me to bet on Mexico, but the keeper was fantastic throughout the whole game and kind of saved them.
Well, so you Mexico were your dark tip for that game?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Jack, how impressed were you by Brazil?
I wasn't. Simply put, Brazil were diabolically bad. It was painful to watch. There was no killer edge. Me, being someone with Fred in my fantasy team, I'm sat there, I'm calling for him to be subbed off at this point. I want him got rid of. He's so slow. He reminded me of Rooney. I've got to be honest, Fred is the Brazilian Rooney. Drop him, please, Brazil. Please, Scolari.
What an indictment. Right, so we'll get on to Mexico then. Obviously, we didn't think that much of Brazil, but Mexico, particularly their goalkeeper, FM legend, what did we make of him, Shifty? Was he the man of the match for you? He was voted FIFA man of the match, surprisingly, not Neymar this time. Was he your man of the match?
Without a doubt, the man of the match. And now, funny enough, as soon as the game ended, he was linked with moves to Arsenal and Liverpool, I believe.
I thought Atletico Madrid mentioned as well, because they're losing Courtois, and obviously they need a goalkeeper, so he was...
yeah, he was awesome. And as you said, FM legend, everyone kind of knew about him. There's a few FM legends on show at the World Cup currently.
Indeed, we'll get on to another one later on. Who didn't have such a great game. So this is Mexico in quite a good position. They beat Cameroon, and then they hold Brazil. Neymar didn't have... I want to talk about this. I'm going to go on my little rant. I've written in the notes that I want to make a rant about Brazil.
I'm bracing myself.
Everyone calm down, relax. Brazil have always had a player throughout the years. You can go back to the 50s and 60s. They've always had a player that can change the game. Now, this year, that is supposed to be Neymar. And from what we saw yesterday, at no point did you think he's going to grab this game by the scuff of the neck and win it. Like you've seen in the past, you've seen Ronaldinho do it, you've seen Ronaldo do it, you've even seen Rivaldo do it. There's players on the pitch for Brazil in previous years that have done the job when it's really needed. Like they would scrape a 2-0 in that. I know like 2-0 is not really a scrape, but do you know what I mean? Brazil teams of yesteryear would have always won that game. They would have found a way to win that game. And this Brazil team, as pretty as they are passing the ball around and making it look nice, there's no cutting edge. And that may really hurt them against the better sides who defend even better than Mexico do. Like I cannot see Brazil. I don't know if this works out in the draw, but can you ever see Brazil being a team like Germany right now?
No, not at all.
I can if Neymar turns up.
But do you know what I mean? That is such a pressure on a 22-year-old who has got... We spoke about it in other shows. Neymar is the pin-up. He's the guy. Everybody in Brazil is saying, look, we need someone to do this, and you're the guy we're asking to do it. And if he doesn't do it, as we saw yesterday, even a team like Mexico, who aren't like a top 10 favourite for this tournament, held Brazil to a 0-0 and looks at times the better side.
See, to me, I think Brazil's big issue is the fact that Neymar's the pin-up. That is the problem in itself. You look across their team is full of superstars. Yes, Neymar's the big one. He's kind of the Kaká, the Ronaldinho of the next generation. But you look across that side, you've still got players like Dani Alves, one of the best right-backs in the world on his day. Marcelo, the exact same at left-back. Thiago Silva, David Luiz. These are players who should be performing on this big stage. And yes, they perform well defensively. And as you go further forward, even players like Oscar, Willian. These are players you expect to come big. You know, you're playing for Chelsea. Some of these Mexican players, no disrespect, the majority are playing in the Mexican leagues. This is their game to lose.
But none of them are game
turned
changers. None of them are games. Like all the players you mentioned there, Oscar, as good as he is, he's not a game changer. He creates space for game changers. That's what I'm saying. Ronaldo would just get the ball, run with it, and score. Ronaldinho would do the same thing. Rivaldo would do the same. Even Adriano at times would have done that.
See, I don't think a team needs a game changer to win. Look at Atletico Madrid in the throughout the end. They didn't have Diego Costa for the last few games. That was arguably their game changer. I feel as if you're relying on a game changer, whilst that's not an unhealthy thing, if you've got that strength elsewhere on the side, you shouldn't need a game changer to win a game.
But in that sort of game, that is when you need a game changer. You look at someone like, I hate to bring up the team we support, but Liverpool's Luis Suarez is a game changer. There are games which Liverpool would not have won had it been for someone like Luis Suarez. Messi against for Argentina the other night. He had one moment and he changes the game and makes sure they win it. Like, that is what I'm talking about. And Neymar does not offer that to Brazil enough for him to be considered a great yet. Like, Neymar's legacy will be defined by this World Cup, in my opinion, because this is what Brazilian fans will remember.
Go
on, Shifty.
Sorry. I was going to say he made one good run yesterday, which, like, he went past 3-4 people, but at the end, it just became too much for him. And in that position, you'd fancy Messi getting through, you'd fancy Ronaldo getting through, you'd even fancy, obviously, a player who's, it's a shame he's not there, Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah. You'd
fancy him to get through. They are the top class players, and that's what Neymar needs to strive to become.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like it's unfair. I agree that Neymar's legacy will be defined on this World Cup with it being in Brazil. But I think in any other World Cup that isn't in Brazil, everyone would be going, well, he's got another 2 or 3 World Cups to prove it still. And I feel like that is, whilst it's unfair on him, it's the situation he finds himself in. I feel as if we're doing a little bit of a disservice to the Mexican defence and the way Mexico as a whole set up in saying that Brazil didn't play well, and particularly Neymar. Because I think for me, Mexico played so well defensively. Obviously, Ochoa in goal. It didn't really surprise me to see him play well here. He got I think there was 27 shots PSG had against his team in Ligue 1 this year, and there were 12 on target. It was something absolutely barbaric, and he only conceded 1. And there were some incredible saves in this game. But as you look further up the field, even the Mexico back four just looks so well regimented and so well organised for me.
Yeah, I would agree. So that obviously leaves Mexico on 4 points. It leaves Brazil on 4 points. So they're both in strong positions, despite drawing with each other. They're both in strong positions because whatever happens in the game, is it today? It is later today. That they will still be in that strong position, no matter if Croatia or Cameroon win. Although we'll come on to that later on in the show. Another game which happened yesterday, Belgium versus Algeria, the dark horses of the tournament, who are no longer dark horses because they're 5th favourite and everyone expects them to do well. They finally won their first game, but it wasn't easy, Shifty.
Not the thing with Belgium that has been, it's not overhyped at all. They have been talked about for the past 3 to 6 years as being that team that, like, once they came of age, they would be up there, they would be the best. They had the Lukaku, they had the Hazard, they had Courtois, their company, and for the first part of the game they looked lackluster. They didn't look like they really wanted it. Lukaku wasn't getting the ball where he wanted it, and they were disappointing until they made changes. As soon as Chadley came off, that's it. It was kind of like it was a completely different game. Yeah. And Algeria scoring, albeit it was a penalty without a doubt. I think it was a decent shout for a penalty, but it didn't surprise me Algeria were holding them, to be honest.
No, Algeria are a very competent team. Vertonghen, we'll talk about the penalty. But I don't know what Vertonghen thinks he's doing. My word. Like,
as soon as you put a hand on someone, they're going to go down.
And he acts like he should get away with it. And you can see Company, I don't know if you saw, so immediately after it was given, Company's looking at Vertonghen going, you idiot. You idiot. Like, he knew it was a penalty. Like, you didn't see Belgium really complain about it aside from Vertonghen, because Company had that look in his eyes where he was just like, do you know what you're doing? This is a World Cup. Do you know what you've just done? And I'll tell you what, I would not want to be Vertonghen at that point. I'm in Vincent Company in your face. But obviously, he's not a natural left back, but Fanguli was arguably Algeria's best player in that first half, and he won the penalty and scored the penalty, which put them 1-0 up. As Shifty mentioned, Jack, changes made at half-time, Chadley off. Did Fellaini come on at some point in the second half?
Yeah, he got the first goal, didn't he?
He did. So,
during the second half, yes.
Yeah, so what did you make of did they bring they also took Lukaku off, which I thought was...
They took Lukaku off early for the Origi, who personally I hadn't heard of. I'd heard he played, but he hadn't scored for Belgium before the game. And his pace was incredible.
Yeah,
That was the big shocking factor. Seeing him get the ball and just run was kind of, it was different.
Yeah. I was surprised with Chudley starting. I know that obviously the Belgian coach Wilmot has actually kind of preferred him throughout the tournament, and even pre-tournament, there was a lot made of the fact he was continuing to play him. I kind of feel like Belgium are a team where they still maybe don't have a complete squad in some ways. I feel as if the coach maybe doesn't know who the best team is, or maybe his opinion of the best team isn't what it actually is. I feel as if the changes he made were good. I think Belgium in the second half, they came out with a point to prove it was a test for them today. It was a real test of, character. Could they come back from behind on the World Cup stage after all this hype? And they kind of proved their point. I mean, going into the World Cup, they didn't have the easiest run of fixtures. They really struggled at the end of last year and the start of this year. I know that going into this tournament, they played like 3 friendlies against, I believe, Tunisia, Luxembourg, and I think the other one was against Sweden. But before that, against other World Cup teams, they had struggled. So going into this game, I was a little bit kind of apprehensive as to what to expect. They lost against Japan, I think, drawn against the Ivory Coast. Like, they're not the biggest teams in the World Cup by any means, but to struggle against them when you consider the team as 5th favourites, coming into this, I was still a little bit apprehensive. I feel as if the media hype train perhaps got to Belgium a little bit in the first half. I felt like they lacked that killer pass. They lacked they had the ball. They controlled the game for the most part, but they never looked like scoring, really.
No. Go on.
I was going to say, and it just wasn't until the second half where, some changes were made that it kind of, I guess they took hold of that game and started to look somewhat more threatening.
Yeah. So they brought Mertens, Fellaini and Origi. Is that his name? I believe that's how you pronounce it. They brought those 3 on. And straight away, you saw we saw Belgium's tactics change. Started going far more direct, and it comes from a Fellaini header to get them back into it. It's the first time I've seen Fellaini do anything good in about a year. So it was a bit surprising to see him actually do something. I was like, I bet United fans were thinking, so that's what he's for, which I thought was quite funny.
Didn't see him in that position once for United all season.
No, he didn't. And that's a position we saw him occupy for Everton on numerous occasions. So maybe Van Gaal will look at that and think, Yeah, and then we've got Mertens, who obviously got the second. Great finish, Jack.
Yeah, well, the thing is, both the players who scored came on off the bench for Belgium, and I feel as if they came off of a point to prove, but Mertens' goal particularly, fantastic finish. It was Honda-esque. I'm a big advocate of the Japanese. I think he'd been watching the Japan game earlier on in the week. But no, it was a really good finish, and obviously that propelled them to victory in this game.
Indeed it did. So we'll move on to the late game from yesterday, which was Russia versus South Korea. My favourite moment of the World Cup has happened, and it was yesterday, and it was when Akinfeev has the ball blasted at his face, and then just goes, nah, I'll just poof, whoops-a-daisy, and then it goes in, and everyone goes mad, and everyone's like, oh my god, this is the moment we've all been waiting for, something crazy's happened, something stupid's happened. It wasn't like the goal line technology nonsense, it was an actual mistake, and it's the first big mistake of the tournament. I'm not including Marcelo's. So yeah, Akinfeev was the biggest mistake. Shifty, did you worry for Fabio Capella's Russia at that point?
A little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I was really happy that South Korea were ahead, because I have a massive distaste for Fabio Capello after what he did with England. But that, as we said earlier, that this was the game with other Football Manager legends in it, being Akinfeev and Song Hong-min, who I expected to do more, to be honest. Yeah. But I looked at Russia's team as soon as the lineups came out, and I thought they looked really average. To be honest, they were missing Jaguar from the starting lineup, who was one that I always thought was incredible, especially at the last tournament.
Indeed.
And looking at South Korea, obviously I didn't really realise that many names apart from Son Heung-min and the dude who's been at Watford this season, and he's played a total of, I think they said 7 minutes for Arsenal season and just over an hour for Watford. Yeah, he's starting in the World Cup finals, which is I don't really understand. Yeah, to be honest, I don't see how you can play no club football all season and then still start for your country.
Their manager clearly has his favourites. So obviously Russia went 1-0 down to a goalkeeping error. Brought on Denisov, Jagoev and Kurzhakov, who will likely start the next game. I follow James Appel on Twitter, who's a kind of a Russian correspondent for Russian football, and he said that he fully expects those. He was surprised, well, for one, he was surprised they didn't start in the first place. And then he thinks they'll definitely be starting the next game, because Russia looked like a different team, Jack.
Yeah, they did. Obviously, they went down. I think if Akinfeev is stood maybe a yard to his left, the ball just hits him square in the face and it doesn't go in. But the goal goes in. Changes were made. They stuck 2 up top, and they looked completely different. They looked a lot more sharp. I was kind of curious, and this has been a pattern throughout the World Cup, but a lot of the Asian teams are lining up with 4-4-2s, like 4-4-2s, and that's what South Korea did. And it just seemed like suddenly when they had the 2 centre-backs had 2 men to deal with, and I think it was Kokorin and Kozakov, they just didn't really know which one to pick up between them. They looked a little bit confused, and I kind of feel like the keeper is maybe at fault for South Korea with their goal going in as well.
Yeah, I've written in the notes that I think teams are setting up to play this nice controlled football style that Spain have kind of been preaching for the last 5-6 years, probably more than that actually. And then about 60 minutes they're going, this doesn't actually work in this World Cup, it seems, because Belgium did it as well. So they're like, right, let's start playing a bit more direct. And as you said, as soon as Russia started doing that, they got their goal. Pretty lucky, I thought, Shifty.
It was sloppy. It was unfortunate for the keeper because he makes a decent effort at saving it, and then obviously it bounces around a few people, and Poacher's effort, he knocks it in, which was, well, it was great for Russia. It was heartbreaking for South Korea. I was heartbroken. Oh. I missed a goal, to be honest. I literally was so excited about South Korea scoring. Went to bathroom break, came back, and it was 1-0.
Oh.
I thought you were going to say you've been celebrating for the 6 minutes preceding the South Korea goal. That's how happy you were. Gone for the lap of the house.
It's like, I'm making myself a sandwich, forget this, we're really living life. And then it comes back 1-1, puts the sandwich away. So Fabio Capello's side, he's still got a lot of pressure on him. We said it before the game kicked off yesterday, that Russia are a team with a lot of pressure. Obviously, they're hosting the next World Cup. And as I've written in the notes, second place looks impossible to predict. I think we all assume Belgium will now probably win the group. Yeah. But Algeria, Russia, and South Korea, I've got no idea. I guess I'll ask you two. Who do you think's the most likely?
I think Russia. For me, Russia topped their qualifying group. They finished ahead of Portugal. I was looking through this actually. I was like, who did Russia like? How did they go on in qualifying? Because obviously they out-qualified Portugal. So for me, whilst on paper they don't necessarily look like the strongest team, I feel a lot of that comes down to the fact that they all play in Russia, so they don't really get thrust onto the European stage too much. But for me, Russia are going to do it. They beat Portugal 1-0. In their game against them. They actually lost to Northern Ireland of all teams in qualifying Russia and still managed to top the group. I think they're going to show a little bit more quality, and I think if they set up with 2 up top in Kukurin and Kozakov, I think it's going to be very difficult for Algeria to contain them.
So you're going Russia, Shifty. Who do you think is the most likely out of the 3 teams? Are you sticking with your Koreans?
My heart says South Korea, my head says Russia. I see South Korea drawing with Algeria, to be honest, as well.
Okay.
And then losing to Belgium.
So we think it'll be a Belgium-Russia top 2. I'm inclined to agree. I think Russia have got a bit more than the other 2 sides. It now brings us to the Twitter question of the day. Now, I want to preface this with saying, and I'm going to be honest with the people here, I've come up with some cracking questions, as has Jack actually, during this tournament. Today was not my finest hour. With 20 minutes left to record, I fired out a question. I regret it now. But for those who want to take part in the YouTube comments and what have you, the question of the day is, it's the Battle of the Seas today, Croatia, Cameroon. What's your favourite country beginning with the letter C and Y? Jack?
It's definitely not Ivory Coast. I know that technically begins with an I, but I guess you could have Côte d'Ivoire, or however you meant to pronounce it. So that begins with C. And they beat Japan, so I don't like them. In terms of who I like, I'm a big fan of Chad. Just because Chad sounds like the kind of geezer you go down the pub with to watch the football. All
right, Chad, Shifty, you've got plenty of options.
Cyprus.
What, because you've been on holiday?
Pretty much, but it is probably actually, I'd say it's my favourite place in the world. I like it a lot more than England.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so we'll go to Twitter. Sydney Sam said Chile, because they're going to knock Spain out tonight. Oh, big talk. Big talk from Sydney Sam.
We'll come on to that.
I don't think it's the Sydney Sam, I should say, but you never know. Ben Roberts, China, over 1 billion people, and they're still ever the underdog, which is true, actually. Every time China win anything, it's kind of like, yeah, I wish them the best. 1 billion people. Matt White said Colombia, because nobody in the footballing world rated them before the emergence of Falcao, Rodriguez, and Martinez. So, okay, fine. Someone called Bran Flakes, I'm not sure that's his real name, said Christmas Island, because, well, Santa lives there, and all the idiots think that he lives in the North Pole. So some factual information.
Is that actually a country? I'm looking through a list of countries.
What, Christmas Island?
I mean, I'm just going to read out the list. We have Cambodia, Cameroon, Canada, Cape Verde, Central African Republic, Chad, Chile, China, Colombia, Comoros, Congo. Yeah, okay, there's a few more. I don't know why I read them all. The point I'm making is Christmas Island. It sounds like Tracy Island from Thunderbirds. It's not on the list. You can't have it, so I'm disregarding that answer right now.
Okay, a few people said Chad. A couple of people went Chile. I'm going to go Czech Republic because based on 1996, everyone thinks they should be winning World Cups from that point onwards, despite having one good tournament in about 25 years. So that ends the best question of the week we've probably ever done. And we get to quickly move on to this week's games. Today's games. Sorry, Jack, I'm still doing it. Today's games. And we'll kick ourselves off with the Battle of the Seas. It's Cameroon versus Croatia. We've seen them both in action. Croatia fought valiantly against Brazil, and Cameroon were very underwhelming against Mexico. What do you think, Shifty? Sum it up for me.
Cameroon deserved to lose to Mexico by a lot more goals.
Yeah,
it's just two disallowed goals, which should have been given. And I thought Croatia deserved to beat Brazil because one, it wasn't a penalty, and two, it shouldn't have been a disallowed goal.
So, do you see this only going one way?
Yes, and Cameroon are without Eto'o.
Is he out injured officially?
He tweeted out saying the doctor said he wouldn't be playing due to a knee injury.
Ooh, so what's your score prediction for this game?
3-0 to Croatia.
All right, Jack, have you got any thoughts on Cameroon versus Croatia?
No, not really. I expect Croatia to win. I've got to be honest, Cameroon. I know you were bigging up Cameroon before the tournament, I must admit.
Nah.
And I think after seeing them for the first time, I'm particularly underwhelmed by them. And I just think Croatia are going to win quite comfortably, and Cameroon are going to finish on nil points for this group.
Well, I think this is the time for Cameroon now. I think they've tricked everyone into a false sense of security, and without Samuel Eto'o, they're going to be a bit more of a unit, a bit more of a team. Not have to worry about giving him the ball as much, and they're going to shock the world.
I don't feel like they have to worry about being a unit. They played with 6 at the back last time against Mexico.
Yeah,
when they played Brazil, how are they going to a line of 10 players? That's how I'm imagining it now.
With heart and desire. That's how they're going to win this. So I'll go 1-0 Cameroon in the classic smash and grab, and Croatia will be sent home. Sorry, Modric. Okay, so the next game we've got written down is Australia versus Holland. Now, we've already seen Holland destroy the world champions. I've said throughout this tournament that if Australia get a point, I'll do what you like. Whatever you want.
Tweet your suggestions at ForTheFans show.
Because it's not happening, and it definitely won't be happening today. I'm going to fire in my prediction and then let you two talk about it. That it's going to be Holland 9, Australia 0.
9?
Yeah, get your bets on now.
Okay.
Right, go on,
I don't know how to follow that up.
As soon as I saw Australia versus Chile,
yeah,
I knew as soon as I saw Medell at the back, Australia were going to score because he's 5'7" and he was playing centre back against Tim Cahill, one of the best headers. If headers is actually a word.
Yeah, headers will do.
We'll give you it.
Of the ball, in the world, he is just known for that, and you could just see it happening. But Australia's team is woeful, and they're going to get battered by Holland.
Well, we've seen Holland do it against the big boys. Will they be able to motivate themselves to do it against Australia, Jack?
Yes.
Shifty thinks yes. What do you think, Jack?
I don't think they need to motivate themselves to beat them. I've got to be honest. No disrespect to Australia. I had faith in you to maybe... No, okay. I didn't have faith in you to get a point. I had optimism in you to get a point so I could get Ben to do something. That optimism's gone. Maybe you can knock Spain out. That's my clinging hope right now, which I never would have thought after at the start of the tournament. But no, for me, Australia are going to get pummeled. They aren't going to get a goal. They're probably going to be lucky to get a shot on target today. I'm going to go with 7-0 Holland.
Oh, Shifty, what's your score prediction?
I'm still going to say 4-0.
4-0. Well, you should back yourselves more. I think Australia really, realistically, have to win to stay alive in the tournament. I think a draw some way they could still get through, but obviously if then Chile win, then I'm not sure what happens. Speaking of Chile, arguably the biggest game of the tournament so far. Agree, boys?
Yeah.
Spain versus Chile. Spain coming off the back of a hammering. Chile looks good against Australia. Spain must win. If Spain, not if Spain lose, but if Chile win, Spain are out, which I don't think anyone would have thought. The big decision for Dabosque, will he stick with Casillas? Jack, go on.
Well, De Gea's out injured, I believe. So
he's got a buttock muscle injury.
I just read that. I can't believe that.
It's true.
Well, how does that even happen? Like, but anyway, I think he probably will start just off De Gea being injured. I know they've got Pepe Reina, but I kind of feel like they'll probably stick with Casillas now. For me, this game is huge because you can qualify from the World Cup with 4 points, into the knockout stages. The issue Spain have got is even if they get a draw today, they have -5 goal difference, and essentially they're going to have to absolutely batter Australia, which I don't feel like they're that suited to do given how they play. They don't play that direct attacking football. I don't see Spain as a team who can absolutely destroy an Australia who park the bus. So this is a must-win for them. I kind of feel like they will win, they will finish second, and they're probably going to be playing Brazil in the second round.
Oh, what a game that would be. Mouth-watering stuff. So obviously, in midfield for Chile, Vidal came through he was an injury doubt before the tournament. He came through 60 minutes against Australia. Then again, I could have probably done that against Australia. I'm really giving the Australians a hard time. I'm sorry, I just don't think you're very good. I've got nothing personal against kangaroos or koala bears. I just think that you're not very good at football.
I've got to be honest, you could probably, when Spain play Australia, you could probably play as the 11th man for Spain and they'd still win.
Yeah, I could go and goal. I could easily do that job.
I was thinking of having you as Fernando. To be fair, you're probably an improvement on Torres. Anyway, I don't want to. I'm sorry, Torres.
Shall we do some quick score predictions then? Well, obviously we can talk about this game and make predictions, but as we've proved so far, we don't actually know that much about what might happen. So it's best to just go with predictions.
I kind of feel I was about to say, I feel like when we're predicting scores, we are literally throwing darts on a dartboard blindfolded and hoping we get them right. And by fluke, I got the first one right. I feel like we'd be better off saying who we think's going to win and lose, because if you're betting on a specific scoreline, you're silly.
No, I want you to bet on. Okay, well, Jack, what's your scoreline prediction?
God damn it! 4-2 Spain.
Blimey, I hope so. That'd be a really good game. Shifty.
2-1 Chile.
2-1 Chile. He's back.
He's back in the underdogs. Oh.
I'm gonna go 3-0 Spain. I don't want it to be that because I want to see Spain suffer a little bit because they've had so many good players. You despise Spain.
I'm one of those haters who have never found their football entertaining. A couple of years ago, it annoyed me how possession-based it was, and even David Villa in the end would just come get the ball and go have a shot, and it was just horrible to watch. Okay, well, if you disagree with that, it's D.Shifty on Twitter. Send any comments you like in that direction. So, obviously, we've covered yesterday's games, we've covered today's games, and obviously it's a week into the tournament. So what we thought we'd do before the quiz, don't worry, it's coming, Shifties, can't wait, it's just have some general talking points, pick out our best team so far, our best player of the tournament so far, the best match we've seen. So we'll just go, should we just do this in like a triumphant thing, like a trio? Just keep going round, or do you want to do a chat and a bit about it, Jack?
I think a bit of a chat, a bit of a natter. Why not? We're a week in, plenty of talking points. So I'm going to ask you first, Ben. I'm taking the reins here.
You take it for this.
Who are your standout players, Ben? Who is the player who surprised you the most? The one who, after the first set of fixtures, you go, you could be player of the tournament.
Because people were kind of writing him off as an international footballer, despite the fact he wins everything with Bayern Munich, I will probably take Shifty's answer and say Robin. I was really surprised at how devastating he was. And I shouldn't be surprised, because we all know how good he can be, but the system that the Dutch are employing effectively gives him a free role, and he seems to flourish in it. So out of all the players I've seen in the tournament so far, Robin is the one for me.
Shifty, where do you see this one going? Who is your man of the moment?
Apart from Robin, the man I tipped to be goal scorer of the tournament, well, top goal scorer of the tournament, that I didn't put money on, Thomas Muller, which still frustrates me. Although Portugal went down to 10 men, he was awesome. Like, it played out on the wing primarily for Bayern Munich when he does play, or behind the striker. He doesn't really get. He's not an out-and-out striker, but he scores goals. I
think there was a few eyebrows raised going into this World Cup. The fact that Germany had Closer as their kind of standout striker at club level. I know they had like Royce and Muller. Obviously, Royce is out injured now. But I think there was a lot of kind of pressure on Muller going into this, really, to step up and play this kind of different role. And as you said, he was superb. I think it's in like 8 goals in 7 appearances at World Cups now for him. Age 25 or 26, he's not very old, and to have that kind of record is insane. I was probably going to go with him, but now you've thrown me in a tricky situation where my brain is now spinning around in circles trying to think of who has been standout. I'm going to go with complete bias here, and this isn't a serious opinion, but Kaizui Honda.
Yes. A Japanese player that lost their first game.
He scored, though. 70% pass completion. Anyway,
that's horrific.
Next team.
I think I know what it was, and I actually think it was 67%, and you've given him the benefit of the doubt there.
Who are your surprise teams so far? So going into this, who's been the team who after the first game you've gone, actually, they might make it through to the next round?
Do you want me or Shifty to go first? You can choose.
Have a fight. Have a discussion.
I don't want to fight that.
All right, I'm far stronger than Shifty in all areas. So I will say that surprisingly, probably Mexico. We've spoken about them quite a bit. Obviously, we've talked about them on the show, but I think Mexico have looked really good. Like I'm pleased to see them play this way because I saw them at the Olympics, and a lot of the players that were in that squad have obviously got 2 years older. They're now around the 24-25 mark, and they're showing up on the national stage. And I'd love to see them go through to the knockout stages because I think they're quite an exciting team. Go on then, Shifty. Now you get a go.
The game which has surprised me most, being like a team, was Costa Rica's victory against Uruguay.
Yeah,
that I did not see coming. But then I wouldn't say they were my surprise team because I don't think they were that good. I just think Uruguay
they were clinical, weren't they? And Uruguay kind of let them back into it.
Yeah.
And Joel Campbell, another Football Manager kind of prodigy, who's obviously at Arsenal on loan at the moment, scored, which was it was. No, he didn't. Yes, he did score.
He did score. He scored the first goal. Don't you worry, you're doubting yourself now, man.
I doubted myself because I was like, hold on, he didn't score. Yes, he did. It was just people talking about him. But Mexico, again, I wouldn't say they surprised me. They've kind of lived up to my expectations, but I think they've surprised everyone else.
Yeah.
Which has enjoyed me because I tipped them to make out the group before the tournament started.
I clearly should have added Predictions Master onto your intro at the start. Jack, go on, now you get a turn.
I'm going to go with the Netherlands.
Not Japan. All right, good.
The Netherlands. And I know you... I mean Japan, sorry. No, for me, the Netherlands, we talked about them pre-World Cup in our preview, and we talked about the fact we thought it would be them and Chile fighting for second. After that first game, whilst, they're not the smallest team, they're not the Costa Rica. For me, they were a huge surprise. Setting up in that 5-3-2, there was a few questions over, the quality of their defence, and they basically shut down and stopped Spain playing their style of football effectively for 90 minutes, and I think they could go quite far in this World Cup if they can kind of adapt to the oppositions they play in a similar manner to they did against Spain.
Yep.
So anyway, next thing, best match. Which match was the one that you sat there and applauded? If you say Iran v Nigeria, you're getting cut off the podcast. I'll edit you out of it all. So anyway, we'll go to you first, Shifty, this time.
I'm actually looking for all the scores to try to remember every single game and which was, like, crazy exciting. The thing is, the best match was definitely Netherlands-Spain, and that's just because I was so happy Spain took a hiding.
I agree.
The thing about the game that was strange is Spain scored first, and had David Silva not messed around with his two chances, he had the chance to square it across box and chip the keeper. It could have been a very, very different game. But I'm so glad he messed up those chances because then Netherlands took control and battered them.
Yeah, the reason I think it was the best... I agree that it was the best game. The reason I think that is because every time the Dutch scored, and it happened 5 times pretty much, you sat there and you're going, look at us, they've done it. Oh my, they've done it again. What is going on? This isn't Spain. It's 5-1. And I like sitting there just being shocked every time a team concedes. Because it felt to me like when... Sorry, United fans. It felt to me like when City did United that time.
Yeah.
And every time a goal went in, you were like, this is brilliant. And I'm watching it, and that was the best thing about it. I love that. Jack, do you agree with us?
I agree with you.
Did you like the Japan game?
I was going to suggest Japan v Ivory Coast. I think the other one for me was France v Honduras, just because I enjoyed seeing how many injuries there were going to be. I shouldn't say that, but just the way the Honduran tackles were flying in. I was sat there with my popcorn. It was like watching WWE, and then you got Pogba kicking people on the ground. I was loving it. I was there giving it ooh and ah and throwing popcorn at my monitor whenever a bad tackle was made. But no, I think it's hard to look past the Spain v Holland game on that one. So, last and not least, player who needs to prove a point this World Cup. First round of fixtures, there's been some big names thrown into the hat. Some big names who teams have arguably been kind of emphasised their reliance on Who are the players for you who need to step it up in order to ensure their team make it out the group stage? And we'll go to you, Ben.
Neymar, Shifty next. Neymar. I gave him a roast earlier. Shifty.
I was waiting for you to say Ronaldo, and I was going to be really upset because I'm a Ronaldo fanboy. But as weird as it sounds, I still think Messi needs to do more.
That's fine. You're allowed to say that. Because
it was awkward because I tweeted Messi is bad, and then he literally ran through the team and scored, albeit deflected. He didn't do that enough for me. Like Bosnia are a decent team. I expected Xhaka to do more, and I had that game to be over 3.5. No, yes, I had it over 3.5. So when Argentina didn't score that third, and Messi kept messing around at the end and refused to put it across goal, I was screaming at the top of my lungs as well. But I'd say Messi, even though I'm going to get hate for it.
Can I jump back in, Jack? Sorry.
Yeah, hit me.
I've said Neymar. I actually think Dzeko as well. Now Shifty's brought up that game. I think Dzeko's got a lot to do.
He didn't do anything.
He was a standout in their qualifying. As much as Brazil are relying on Neymar, Bosnia are relying on Dzeko. And I want to see him performing. He's got 2 relatively easy games coming up in Nigeria and Iran. If he doesn't do something in those games to make sure they go through, his head is on the chopping block in that country, which could be more literal than we hope.
I think that in that game, kind of the games they've got left, he has to do something. If he doesn't do something, he should be dropped, even if they make it through. Iran and Nigeria both looked absolutely terrible. Dzeko is the kind of player who should be able to cut open defences like that with ease. For me, personal player, I'm going to be looking for Kagawa to step things up. I think he was quite quiet for Japan. And if Japan want to stand a chance, which they need to beat Greece and probably get a point against Colombia, I'm looking at you, Shinji, to make a difference.
It is times like this when I wish I edited. Because that would be cut, and I'd be like, Jack, do another one. But okay, fine.
Do another one. Right, Yoshida.
You can't just go to the Japanese team. Right, end this nonsense. We're doing a quiz.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Right.
Oh, no.
Shifty, the rules are, Jack's got a timer at the ready, all being well. 30 seconds are on the clock. How do you feel your chances are going to be in this quiz? Are you a fan of the quiz?
Yes, and I've got to beat Nep.
Right, well, that should be difficult.
God, these are going to be so hard.
When we're ready, Jack.
I'm ready. So
give us the countdown.
Brace yourself, Shifty.
On the clock. Right, are you Jack? Are you ready?
I'm saying I was born ready for this.
Contender ready. Shifty, actually.
Yes.
Excellent. Right, Jack.
3, 2, 1, go.
When did England last win the World Cup?
1966.
You're beating Neb. Which team have appeared in 3 World Cup finals but have never won it?
Uruguay.
Holland. Finish the lyrics of this famous World Cup related song. Vindaloo, Vindaloo, Vindaloo.
Nah.
Correct. For 5 bonus points, what am I thinking?
Shifty's an idiot.
Incorrect. How much is it to be eliminated? If you're eliminated at the first round, how much will it cost? Oh, sorry, I've got that completely wrong. I've screwed up the quiz.
Right, I will give you this question. The time is up, but we'll give you this question and a little bit of thinking time.
I can't believe it. I've bottled the quiz.
It's been a week and you've been doing it so well, and now you screw it up.
I've bottled the quiz.
It's the presence of you, Shifty.
It's because I read two
get bonus points for this question as well.
Yeah, right. This is 2 points because I've ruined the quiz. How much is it estimated that the 2014 World Cup will cost in billion? It's an easy one.
He's googling there.
I'm not. So I'm sitting on my bed.
You've got 5 seconds.
66 million.
Well, in billion, and he's gone 66 million. It's 14 billion.
Oh wow! I didn't hear the billion bit.
So you got 2 questions right, which puts you.
I drew of cow.
Yeah, you did. Which puts you in towards the bottom somewhere.
How did Jack get 6?
Because the questions are very easy. So Shifty, well done with the quiz. We can give him a little clap for the fan show. Clap for the quiz. Well done.
If you've got any quiz questions, tweet them at For The Fan Show. That because we're running out.
No, don't say that. We've got loads left. Don't worry.
I mean, we've got loads. Don't worry.
Jack, socialise this.
Guys, if you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at For The Fan Show. You can answer our question of the day over on there. And you can tweet us, let us know what you think of the World Cup. Whilst it's all going on, we're usually taking the piss out of whatever's going on the pitch at the time anyway. You can check us out at www.forthefanshow.com. We're available on iTunes at For The Fans, YouTube For The Fan Show. And I think I've just plugged every single thing I could ever want to plug. Ben, over to you for the outro.
If you're listening on iTunes, please rate the show and leave a little thoughts on what you thought of the show today and for the rest of the World Cup. Thank you to our guest Shifty.
He's gone. He's had enough. He's given up after the quiz.
I'm still here.
He's bottled it after the quiz. Now he's left. He stormed out after my cock up. Right. We'll see you next time. From me, Ben, from Jack, and from Shifty. We're out.